The morning began the way late winter mornings often do, quiet, pale, and lingering just a little longer than necessary. Frost clung to the edges of the windows, but inside the house a small warmth was gathering. On the kitchen table a scattering of seed packets lay open like little envelopes of promise. Some were new and crisp, others were soft around the corners from years of use, bearing notes written in a hurried summer hand. A tray of tiny pots waited nearby, each one empty and expectant. The soil in its bag gave off a gentle, earthy smell, as though it remembered last summer's sunlight and was eager to meet it again. In the soft light, the seeds looked impossibly small, motes of possibility that held whole meals, medicine, and bright splashes of color inside them. As the first pot was filled, the house seemed to settle into a listening hush. Seed starting had always felt more like a ritual than a task. Each seed pressed into the soil carried a quiet intention, a hope for warmth, for nourishment, for the return of green after the long sleep of winter. It was the same rhythm the old ones followed, long before grow lights and heating mats, when planting was a prayer whispered into the hands of the earth. With every seed tucked gently into place, the world shifted just a little. Winter loosened its hold, the wheel turned, and in the stillness something unseen began to stir, a whisper of roots, a soft exhale of life preparing to begin again. Today's episode steps into that moment. We'll explore the magic and method behind seed starting, the old traditions tied to those first brave sprouts, and the way these tiny brains connect us to the turning of the seasons and a cat biting toes. So, settle in. The story of the garden begins long before anything breaks the surface. Welcome, witches, pagans, heathens, spiritualists, and anyone interested in living sustainably. This is
Old Ways, New Days, where the old ways meet the good dirt.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Nell. And each week we explore the sacred art of living close to the land. From compost to covens, chickens to charms,
We're reclaiming self-sufficiency, seasonal living, and ancestral wisdom.
whether you're stirring your cauldron or your soup pot,
This is a space for wild-hearted folk walking the homesteading path with intention, magic, and muddy boots.
ow! Delta Mu!
I know. Somebody woke up from her nap and decided
It's playtime!
to attack with a vengeance.
Hi.
Yes, she does like to chew on feet for some reason.
Like, she rolled over and hugged my foot, and then she's like, nope, mine!
Chomp chomp. Well, welcome back, listeners. Sorry for the brief interruption of, a cat. So, yeah, today we are exploring the starting of seeds and when to do it. And
Perfect. I think this will help out a lot of customers. Listeners. Customers, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
A lot of listeners, and myself included, because, I'm still fairly new to all of this. Even though I have done some gardening. Oh, now you want out.
All right, let me open the door for you, baby. You're not going to talk. You're going to let everybody know your beautiful voice. Okay, out you go.
But Mom, I don't want to. 5 seconds later, she'll be back in.
Yep. So I know we talked a little bit about seed starting before, and this will dive a little deeper because we did promise that we would go in more in depth.
Right. And I did have those seeds that we did plant to hopefully the 3 different herbs. And
That was back in October.
yep. And yeah, they're really not doing much of anything.
Okay, well, one of the things we talk about today, we'll get a little bit more into that and why it's taking so long for them to do anything.
It's probably because they're by a cold window.
Probably that doesn't help.
Probably, but I don't have any other source of light unless I buy a grow light or something similar. So
Okay,
might be something I invest in.
yeah. Well, I mean, whether you're a beginner or you've had a few seasons under your belt, this episode is for you, I guess. Packed with actionable tips that will transform your gardening game.
Yay!
So
Let's
ready?
dig in.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll cover everything you need to know. The best indoor seed starting methods, the perfect timing for transplanting your seedlings outdoors, and my proven techniques, I guess, for selecting the strongest, most vigorous seedlings that will give you the best yields. I don't know how well I can do that through a podcast and not a video cast, but, we'll give it a go.
And the video may just have to come later.
Yeah. So, why do we want to start our seeds indoors?
Yeah, why do we?
Well, let's see. Before we jump into the how-tos, let's talk about the why. Why you should bother starting seeds indoors when you could just direct sow or into your garden or cheat and go to your local garden center and pick up some
That are already started
for you.
But they don't always work either.
They don't. So first, by starting your seeds indoors, it extends your growing season. In most climates, starting seeds indoors gives you a 6 to 8 week head start on the growing season. This means you can grow varieties that need a longer season than your climate naturally provides. So imagine harvesting tomatoes in July instead of September, or getting 3 successive crops of lettuce instead of just one. Second, this allows you to increase your variety selection. When you start from seed, you have access to hundreds, sometimes thousands, of varieties that you'll never find as transplants at your local garden center. Heirloom tomatoes, specialty peppers, even unique herbs. The world is literally your oyster.
Ew.
Okay, the world is literally your vegetable garden.
Better.
Okay. And then third, cost savings. A packet of seeds costs about the same as 1 or 2 transplants, but contains 25 to 100 seeds, unless, of course, they also are being subjected to shrinkflation. So, but you do the math, and you're looking at massive savings, especially if you're planting a rather large garden. And finally, you have control. You start the seeds on your own time. You control the soil quality. You know there are no pesticides or diseases. You can ensure your plants are hardened off properly for your specific microclimate. Now that we've covered the why, let's get into the exciting part, the how.
Ooh. So there are several proven methods for starting seeds indoors, and I'm going to walk you through the most effective ones. You don't need a fancy greenhouse, just a little space and the right setup. So the classic seed starting tray system. This is my go-to method and the most reliable for beginners like me. And here's what you need. The container. So a standard seed starting tray with individual cells, typically 72 cell or 128 cell tray. The cells should have drainage holes at the bottom. You can also use recycled containers like yogurt cups or egg cartons. Just poke drainage holes in the bottom. And honestly, if you have the cardboard egg cartons,
yeah,
they work the best because they're biodegradable.
And then you don't have to worry about pulling them out of the dirt and trying to transplant them. You can just transplant the whole thing. Just cut off the bottom.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So now onto the seed starting mix. This is crucial. Do not use regular garden soil or potting soil. Seed starting mix is specially formulated to be light, sterile, and well draining. It typically contains peat moss or coco coir, perlite, and vermiculite. The sterile nature prevents damping off disease, which is the number one killer of seedlings, like overwatering so that it drains more evenly.
And there's nothing worse than using regular potting soil and then pulling off your dome, and to find that the entire batch of seedlings has turned to white fuzzy mold.
Yeah. I grew mold. Yay!
Yeah. So the process with using the seed starting trays, and I do know they come in smaller sizes. You don't have to get a 72 cell tray. So you want to fill the cells with a pre-moistened seed starting mix. You don't want it soaking wet, but kind of evenly damp like a wrung out sponge. Plant seeds at the proper depth. Delta! See, it didn't take her long to come back. And then try to steal Nell's keys.
Yep.
So plant seeds at the proper depth. The general rule is to plant seeds at a depth of 2 to 3 times their diameter. Tiny seeds like lettuce or basil just need to be pressed onto the surface. Larger seeds like beans or squash, they go deeper. And then, of course, make sure you label everything. Trust me, you think you'll remember what you planted where, but you won't.
Oh, that's no fun.
I mean, unless you want a surprise garden.
Guess what this is?
And then you want to cover your trays with a humidity dome or plastic wrap to retain moisture until germination. Once seeds germinate, remove the dome immediately to prevent fungal issues or that white mold that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
The second method is soil blocking. This is a bit more advanced of a technique, but it produces incredibly strong seedlings with superior root systems. Instead of the plastic cell trays, you use a soil blocking tool to create compact blocks of soil mix. Kind of like those cell trays come with a disc of compacted, soil.
Yep.
But you're making your own, basically. The advantage when seedlings grow in soil blocks, the roots hit the air at the edges and naturally air prune themselves, creating a denser, more fibrous root system instead of becoming root bound. When you transplant, there's virtually no transplant shock. For making your own soil blocks, you'll need to, unfortunately purchase a soil blocking tool. These are available in different sizes. I recommend a 2-inch blocker for most vegetables, and a soil blocking mix, which is denser than regular seed starting mix. You can create your own with peat moss, compost, perlite, and a little lime. Just a little.
Like a pinch?
Like a pinch. So you want to mix your blocking mixture until it's the consistency of a thick brownie batter.
Don't eat it.
Yeah, don't. Unless you like eating dirt.
No, it's nutritional.
Supposedly, sort of.
I think.
You want to press the blocker into the mix, then eject the block onto a tray. Plant seeds in the divots at the top of each block, and then keep blocks evenly moist. They dry out faster than cell trays. And I would put this into like the catch tray that those cell trays normally come with, so that when you water, you're not watering your countertop or wherever
Oh, darn.
or your windowsill or wherever you decide to put your seeds. And then, of course, winter sowing method. This is a unique approach that's perfect for cold hardy plants and it requires minimal indoor space. The concept is that you start your seeds outdoors in winter using recycled containers like milk jugs or takeout containers as mini greenhouses. This, of course, requires you to set those up before the snow hits.
Too late.
Yeah, we can't do it this year. The containers protect seeds from harsh weather while the natural freeze-thaw cycles stratify the seeds. This is best for cold-hardy plants like kale, spinach, lettuce, and many flowers, like specifically the native ones in northern regions, not so much in southern regions. They are not suitable for heat-loving plants like tomatoes or peppers. So for this, you want to cut a milk jug or if you have a cloche, which are very rare nowadays, you would use that. But you want to leave it so that you can access it in order to get at the soil to plant your seeds. This also provides air flow if you need it. If you're not cutting the bottom off completely and putting it straight into your ground. You want to poke drainage holes in the bottom. Fill with 3 to 4 inches of moistened potting mix. Plant the seeds, label the container, and tape it shut. Remove the cap for ventilation, and then place outside in January or February.
Interesting.
And then you will have lettuce as early as probably March.
Wow.
Because lettuce is, especially like I said, kale and spinach, they love the colder temperatures, and they need that cold stratification to germinate properly. Seeds germinate when conditions are right, and you transplant in spring. Essential equipment for all methods, regardless of which method you choose, you'll need light. This is non-negotiable. Seedlings need 14 to 16 hours of bright light daily. A sunny windowsill is not enough. Seedlings will become leggy and weak, so you want to invest in a full spectrum LED grow light, or just a full spectrum LED light. Doesn't have to be specifically grow light labeled, as they usually increase the price on those.
Right.
You want it positioned 2 to 4 inches above your seedlings, and then you raise the light as the plants grow. Heat mats are beneficial, as most seeds germinate best between 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. A seedling mat placed under your trays can increase germination rates dramatically, especially for heat-loving crops like tomatoes and peppers. Once seeds germinate, you can turn off the heat mat. A fan for gentle air circulation, which will strengthen seedling stems and prevent fungal diseases. A small oscillating fan running on low for a few hours daily works perfectly. And then, of course, a watering can or a spray bottle. Bottom watering is best. Place trays in a shallow tray of water and let the soil wick up moisture. This prevents disturbing seeds and reduces fungal issues.
So timing is everything. One of the most common questions I get is, when should I start my seeds? And the answer is, it depends. Different plants have different needs, and your local climate plays a huge role.
Not to mention, some plants take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or even 100 days to produce your fruit or your edible body.
Oh,
I know. So if you only have a 90-day growing window because you have shorter summers, then getting an extra 40 days of growing inside makes sure that you have some produce at the end.
So the last frost date is your North Star. Everything revolves around your average last frost date. This is the date in spring when the risk of frost has passed in your area. You can find this date by searching last frost date plus your zip code, or by checking with your local extension office. The seed starting timeline is a general guideline for when to start common vegetables indoors, counting back from your last frost date. 12 to 14 weeks before last frost, onions and leeks. These slow growers need the longest head start. 10 to 12 weeks before last frost, peppers and eggplants. These heat lovers have slow germination and growth rates. 8 to 10 weeks before last frost, artichokes and celery. Slower growers need time to develop. 6 to 8 weeks before last frost, tomatoes. This is the sweet spot. Start too early and they'll become root bound and leggy. Too late and you'll delay your harvest. Herbs like basil, oregano, and parsley. 4 to 6 weeks before last frost, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, and Brussels sprouts. These cold crops can handle some cold. Lettuce and other greens. 2 to 4 weeks before last frost, cucumbers, melons, and squash. These grow quickly and don't like their roots disturbed, so start them late in larger containers. Seeds to direct sow instead. Not everything should be started indoors. Some plants hate transplanting and do better when direct sowing, like root vegetables, carrots, beets, radishes, turnips. The transplanting process disturbs the taproot. Beans and peas, these germinate quickly and grow fast, making indoor starting unnecessary. Corn, direct sow after soil warms to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And a pro tip, succession planting. Don't start all of your seeds at once. For crops like lettuce, basil, and beans, start new batches every 2 to 3 weeks for continuous harvest throughout the season.
Congratulations! You have seedlings. But the work isn't over. Proper seedling care is crucial for strong, healthy plants. We already mentioned lighting. So you want to keep those grow lights on for 14 to 16 hours daily. Set them up on a timer so you don't have to remember. Lights should be positioned 2 to 4 inches above the top of seedlings, and as plants grow, raise the lights to maintain that distance. If seedlings are stretching tall and thin, they need more light or the lights need to be closer. Watering. This is where most beginners go wrong. Overwatering kills more seedlings than underwatering. The soil should be evenly moist, kind of like a wrung out sponge, but never soggy. Bottom watering is ideal. It encourages roots to grow downward and prevents fungal issues on leaves. Check soil moisture by sticking your finger into the soil. If the top half inch is dry, it's time to water. In general, seedlings need water every 1 to 3 days, depending on temperature and humidity. For fertilizing, seed starting mix contains minimal nutrients. That's intentional. Once seedlings develop their first true leaves, which is the second set of leaves, they look different from the initial seed leaves. Begin fertilizing weekly with a diluted liquid fertilizer. Use a balanced fertilizer like 5-5-5 or a fish emulsion at half the recommended strength. Weak, pale seedlings often just need food. Thinning. If multiple seeds germinate in one cell, you'll need to thin to the strongest seedling. This seems cruel, but it's necessary. Use small scissors to snip off the weaker seedlings at soil level. Don't pull them, as this disturbs the roots of the seedlings you're keeping and has been a mistake I've done more times than I can count. And hardening off. This is a crucial step that cannot be skipped. Hardening off is the process of gradually acclimating your indoor seedlings to outdoor conditions. Indoor seedlings are soft and tender. Direct sun, wind, and temperature fluctuations will shock or kill them. Start the hardening off process 7 to 10 days before transplanting. So days 1 through 2, place seedlings outdoor in a shaded, protected spot for 1 to 2 hours. Days 3 to 4, increase to 3 to 4 hours, introducing some dappled sunlight. Days 5 through 6, you want 5 to 6 hours with more direct sun exposure. Days 7 to 8, leave out all day, bringing at night if the temperature drops below 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Days 9 through 10, leave out overnight if nighttime temperatures are above 45 degrees Fahrenheit. After this process, your seedlings are ready to transplant.
Ooh.
I know. So when and how to transplant. Your timing your transplant correctly can make the difference between a thriving garden and a struggling one. Temperature is the most important. More important than calendar date is soil temperature. Most vegetables need soil temps to be at least 60 degrees Fahrenheit, though cool season crops like lettuce and broccoli can handle 45 to 50 degrees. Use a soil thermometer to check. Measure at 2 to 4 inches deep at 10 a.m. Why 10 a.m.? I don't know. It's
probably because if you measure, take the measurement at high noon, that's when it's starting to get hot and it gets too hot.
And at 6 a.m. it's too cold.
Right.
So 10 a.m. is kind of that sweet spot.
Right. Because it has had time to warm up, but it hasn't had time to bake.
Which, I mean, if you're getting to that point, then they probably should have already been in the ground.
Right.
All right, so seedling readiness. You want your seedlings, they should have at least 2 to 3 sets of true leaves and be stocky and strong, not leggy. Roots should be visible at drainage holes, but not circling the container excessively. Make sure you choose a cloudy day or transplant in late afternoon or early evening. This reduces transplant shock since plants aren't immediately hit with intense sun. And this includes after all your hardening off too. And then how to transplant. You want to prepare your garden bed, whether this is directly in the ground or a raised bed or a container garden on your balcony or deck.
Yay!
Soil should be workable, not too wet or too dry. Amend with compost if needed. Create planting holes slightly larger than your root ball. Water seedlings thoroughly 1 to 2 hours before transplanting. This helps the root ball stay intact. Dig your hole and fill it with water. Let it drain. Gently remove the seedling from its container. Squeeze flexible containers or tap rigid ones to loosen. Support the stem from underneath. Never pull up by the stem. If roots are circling, gently tease them apart with your fingers to encourage outward growth. There's nothing worse than roots that continue to circle in on each other.
Yep.
You want, roots to go outwards, not circling in. For tomatoes, you can bury the stem up to the first true leaves. They'll develop additional roots along the buried stem. Now, if you were to, because tomatoes are so persnickety, I love that word.
Persnickety?
If you buy a pre-grown tomato plant from your local garden center, if you pull the roots at a 90-degree angle from the stem, it produces a stronger plant because it has more access to water. And since tomatoes are extremely water-heavy plants,
yes,
that's more beneficial. You get a stronger plant, you get a bigger harvest. I did that last year, and I got tomatoes way earlier than I did the previous year, where I just put it in straight up and down.
Nice. So that means I'm gonna try and do something, because I have the 2 tomato plants that I have in my containers that are in the garage. So what I'm gonna do is when I go to repot them, I'm gonna take them out, spread out the
root
system, and then
try doing a vertical root, or horizontal root, I should say.
Yep, and see how that goes. And because the one has a leaf on it still, and it's still green, so it's in its dormant stage.
Make sure you do water it a little bit.
Yep.
Just so that it does not completely dry out and die.
I'm not sure about the other one.
Okay. All right, so back to how to transplant. So tomatoes up to the first leaf. Place seedlings in the hole, backfill with soil, and firm the soil gently. Water immediately with a diluted transplant fertilizer or compost tea if you are lucky enough to have some. If conditions are harsh, hot sun, or wind, provide temporary shade in a row cover or shade cloth for 2 to 3 days. For spacing, you want to follow the recommendations on the back of your seed packet. Crowded plants compete for nutrients, water, and light, leading to poor yields and increased disease. It's tempting to squeeze plants in, but please resist. Resist!
I need more.
When you're growing seedlings, not all are created equal. Selecting the strongest, most vigorous seedlings for transplanting is a crucial skill that will dramatically improve your harvest. So here's what to look for. Take it now.
So stem characteristics. Thick and sturdy. The stem should be robust, not thin and thread-like. So short and stocky. The distance between the soil and the first leaves, called the hypocoidal, should be short. Tall, leggy seedlings had insufficient light and will struggle in the garden. A deep color. Stem should be a rich green or purple, depending on variety, not pale or yellowish. Leaf quality. Dark green color. Rich, deep green leaves indicate good chlorophyll production and adequate nutrients. Pale or yellow leaves suggest nutrient deficiency or poor health. Symmetrical growth. Leaves should be evenly developed on both sides of the plant. Perky and turgid. Leaves should stand up proudly, not droop, unless you just water them, they're temporarily heavy. No damage or spots. Avoid seedlings with brown spots, holes, or discoloration. These could indicate disease or pest issues. Now, root development. White and fibrous Gently remove the seedlings from its container and examine the roots. They should be white or cream colored, never brown or black, which indicates root rot. Well distributed. Roots should fill the container without being excessively root bound. You want to see roots, but also still see soil. And fresh smell. Healthy roots smell earthy and fresh. Sour or rotten smells indicate problems.
Growth rate comparisons within the same seed tray, you'll notice that some seedlings grow faster than others. Generally, the fastest growing seedlings are the most vigorous and will perform best in the garden. These are your champions. Mark them with a small stick or label so you can prioritize them for transplanting. Utilizing the thump test, this is where you gently flick the stem of a seedling with your finger. A strong, healthy seedling will bounce back immediately, springing upright. A weak seedling will fold over or recover slowly. This tests the cell structure and the vigor of the plant. So red flags for seedlings to avoid. Leggy and stretched, which we kind of already talked about. These will never develop into strong plants. If all of your seedlings are leggy, it indicates a systemic problem, usually inadequate light. But even among leggy seedlings, some will be worse than others. Yellowing or purple leaves. Yellow leaves indicate nutrient deficiency or overwatering. Purple leaves and varieties that should not be purple indicate cold stress or phosphorus deficiency. Wilting when the soil is moist suggests root rot or disease, not drought stress. Mold or fungus on soil surface, white fuzz, which has always been my problem,
Same.
or green algae on the soil indicates too much moisture and poor air circulation. These seedlings are at high risk for damping off disease. Stunted growth. If one seedling is significantly smaller than its siblings, despite identical care, it's likely genetically weak or diseased. You want to cull that one. And then, of course, making the tough calls. If you started more seedlings than you need, which I always recommend, you'll need to thin to the strongest. This can feel wasteful, but remember, one robust plant will outproduce two weak ones, quality over quantity. For each variety, select up to 20 to 30% of seedlings based on the criteria above. If you need 6 tomato plants, start 12 to 15 seeds and choose the best 6.
So, even experienced gardeners encounter issues. Let's quickly run through common problems and solutions. Problem: damping off disease. Symptoms: seedlings suddenly collapse at the soil line. Stems look pinched or dark. Causes: fungal disease from overwatering, poor air circulation, or contaminated soil. The solution: use sterile seed starting mix. Don't overwater, provide air circulation with a fan, and bottom water to keep foliage out dry. Problem: leggy seedlings. Symptoms: tall, thin, stretched stems with large gaps between leaves. The cause: insufficient light or lights positioned too far from seedlings. The solution: provide 14 to 16 hours of bright light. Keep lights 2 to 4 inches from tops of plants and use a fan to strengthen stems. Problem: slow or no germination. Symptoms: seeds don't sprout within the expected time frame.
Which is usually marked on the back of the seed,
seed packs. Yep. The cause: soil is too cold, seeds planted too deep, old soil with low viability, soil too dry or too wet. The solution: use a heat map, check planting depth, buy fresh seeds from reputable suppliers, maintain consistent moisture. Problem: yellowing leaves. Symptoms: lowering leaves turn yellow and may drop. Causes: nitrogen deficiency is the most common, overwatering, or natural aging of cotyledon leaves. Solution: feed with diluted liquid fertilizer, ensure proper drainage, understand that the first seed leaves naturally yellow and drop. This is normal. Problem: purple tinged leaves. Symptoms: leaves develop purple or reddish color, especially on undersides. Causes: phosphorus deficiency, often triggered by cold temperatures. Solutions: warm the growing area. Ensure soil temp is adequate, especially for tomatoes and peppers. Feed with a balanced fertilizer.
So, pro tips for maximum success. So, before we wrap up, let me share some advanced tips that will take your seed starting level to the next level. I think I said that.
So you want to take my seed starting level to the next level?
Yes. Your seed starting to the next level. Okay. Pre-moisten your seed starting mix. Always moisten your mix before filling containers. Add water gradually and mix thoroughly until it's evenly damp. This prevents dry pockets and ensures even germination. Use a heat mat strategically. Heat mats boost germination rates dramatically, but once seeds sprout, remove the heat or move trays to cooler conditions. Cooler temperatures between 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit after germination create stockier, stronger seedlings. Label everything twice. Use a permanent marker on the container and a plant label stuck in the soil. One will fade or get lost. Trust me.
You'll definitely lose the one in the soil.
Right, and it didn't matter for me last year when my outdoor greenhouse flipped over 3 times, the third time being completely upside down. It didn't matter that anything was labeled.
So, actually, what you should do is take a piece of paper and draw a little map.
Well, when the whole thing flips upside down, and you're just taking clumps of dirt and seed and throwing them back in the containers.
I'm just saying if you actually have it in the ground.
Oh, well, yes.
Or, like me, I have it on my deck.
Yeah. So, all right, label.
So, you can draw yourself a little map.
That works too.
And be like, okay, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is here.
And that's great because keeping records.
Yes.
Note when you started seeds, when they germinated, how long until transplant, and eventual harvest dates. This information is gold for future years and will give you a really good idea next year what to change and,
how soon to start something, what you can start later.
Yeah, just based off of when you actually get to harvest.
Yeah, but unfortunately with our, what do you want to call it?
Climate?
Situation? We never know when.
We've had frosts in like mid-May.
I know.
So, yeah.
And we've had snow in May.
Right. So it's hard to judge.
We've had snow in June.
Anyway, start small. If you're new to seed starting, begin with easy, fast-growing crops like tomatoes, basil, and lettuce. Build confidence before tackling finicky plants like peppers or celery. And then, of course, invest in quality seeds. Cheap seeds are a false economy. Buy from reputable suppliers who test germination rates and store seeds properly. The few extra dollars pay off in reliable germination and vigorous plants. And of course, only plant what you know you're going to eat.
Right.
So if you don't like eggplant, don't plant eggplant.
There's no point of planting something you're not going to eat.
Right.
So my first year of being at this new place, and I have just a container garden, and I planted beans, lettuce, and peas. The beans were amazing. I got so many beans. And the lettuce actually did really good too. Because it wasn't like the heads of lettuce. It was just...
Oh, like a leaf lettuce?
Yeah.
Like romaine?
Yep. And it worked great. I was able to just go out there and cut them off.
As you needed?
As I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And the peas, they weren't too bad. I had a few. But I think the beans overtook them.
Yeah, they can do that because they both are climbers, and one can definitely outcompete the other. So limited space does make that hard.
Yep.
So there you have it, listeners. Everything you need to know to start seeds indoors and set yourself up for a truly bountiful harvest. So let's recap some of those takeaways.
All right.
So 1,
Choose your seed starting method.
Based on your space and experience. Classic trays for beginners, soil blocking for advanced growers, and winter sowing for cold hardy crops.
2. Timing is everything. Work backwards from your last frost date and start different crops at different times based on their growth rates.
3. Provide the essentials: 14 to 16 hours of bright light, consistent moisture, gentle air circulation, and nutrients once true leaves develop.
4. Select the strongest seedlings by looking for thick stems, dark green leaves, white fibrous roots, and vigorous growth. Don't be afraid to cull the weak ones.
Out with you.
Out! Be gone!
5. Harden off gradually over 7 to 10 days and transplant on a cloudy day when soil temperatures are appropriate. Starting seeds indoors transforms you from a consumer of plants to a creator. It connects you to the entire life cycle of your food. Yes, it takes time and attention, but the rewards, earlier harvests, unique varieties, healthier plants, and the pure satisfaction of growing from seed are absolutely worth it.
I hope this episode has given you the confidence and knowledge to dive into seed starting this season. If you found this valuable, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with your fellow gardeners. And if you have questions or want to share your seed starting successes or failures, we have them all. I know I do.
Mm-hmm.
Tag us on social media or send an email. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, keep growing, keep learning,
and remember,
every expert gardener started as a beginner with a packet of seeds and a dream.
Happy growing!